All right, for First Nephi chapter 4, this is a really cool chapter that I'll share more insights later on, but right now, just to give you the overview, basically Nephi, like in chapter 3, remember we leave off where Laman and Lemuel just saw an angel, and the angel says, look, you're going to go get those brass plates, and the Lord is going to deliver them and Laban into your hands. That's what the angel says to them, and they're still doubting. And so in 1 Nephi chapter 4, Nephi's response is to be faithful, and he says, hey, guys, let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. For behold, he is mightier than all the earth, then why not mightier than Laban and his 50? Right? He's saying, like, look, God created the earth. He's all-powerful. Like, how are you think that Laban and his 50 guards are going to do anything to us if the Lord tells us he's going to protect us, right? And even more so that he's going to deliver Laban into our hands, because Laban's evil. So as you continue to read through here, you'll notice that he is led by the Spirit, not knowing before things which he should do, and he stumbles across Laban. And as he continues to go through here, you'll read about his response and how the Spirit commands him to kill Laban. And God gives a reason why. So again, God the Father, who has a body of flesh and bone, and then his Son Jesus Christ, who was once a spirit before he came to earth, and then is now has a body of flesh and bone, just like the Father, perfect and glorified. And then the Holy Ghost is the Spirit here speaking. But they all are one in purpose, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And so the Spirit here is speaking the words of the Lord, of Christ, and therefore the words of God the Father too. They're all one in their will and what they want to have accomplished. And so sometimes we say, and the Spirit said unto me, behold, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Yea, and I also knew that he had sought to take away mine own life, yea, and he would not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, and he had taken away our property. Right? And it came to pass that the Spirit said unto me again, slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. And then here's the reason that he gives for why Laban needed to be slayed. Behold, the Lord slayeth the wicked to bring forth his righteous purposes. It is better that one man should perish than that a nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief. Now, some people think that that's cruel, that like God allows people, the wicked, to be destroyed, but like it's no different than when Noah and the ark, when God flooded the earth. God's harshness is more gentle than any man's harshness. And if you think of it this way, God's purpose is for us to go from the pre-earth life, as we're spirit children of God, to come here to earth to receive a body, to have the light of Christ in us, and to come to know by the Spirit what's true and to follow the gospel, and so we can return to live with him again. But the people of Noah, for example, were so wicked, they had no more light in them. They had become so numbed and so evil that any child born into one of those families would have had that inner light inside of them snuffed out so quickly that they would never have had a chance either to learn and accept the gospel, the whole purpose of them coming to the earth. And so it's in God's mercy that he flooded the earth to remove the wicked and reset people who would actually keep God's commandments and bring his spirit children into a world with a body where they would actually stand a chance to be able to learn of him and accept the gospel and fulfill their potential as sons and daughters of God, to become one day like him. So it's no surprise here that, again, the Lord delivered Laban, because Laban was an obstacle to that very thing. Contained inside those brass plates were the covenants that would protect and preserve the Nephites and the American continent, because that's what Lehi was going to teach his children. That's how they would remember the commandments of God and raise righteous families and bring children into this earth to receive bodies and be raised in righteous families. So Laban was the sole bottleneck, the sole thing keeping that from happening right now. And so that's why God does that, is he's actually doing it out of mercy for his spirit children to fulfill his purposes and plan on the earth here. So hopefully that makes sense. And we continue to learn what Nephi does here. He then puts on Laban's clothes and goes and sees Zoram, who's Laban's servant, and convinces Zoram to get the brass plates, and then takes Zoram with him, Laban's servant, takes him with him outside of the walls of Jerusalem to his three brothers that are waiting. And so one thing that's interesting, though, is in verse 32 here, you'll see that it says, and it came to pass, because obviously Nephi, when Zoram realizes that Nephi is not Laban, that Nephi was in disguise the whole time, Zoram starts to freak out. He's like, wait, you're not Laban. And then he sees Nephi's brothers and then is worried, right? And so when Nephi recognizes that, he seizes Zoram, because Nephi's a pretty hefty guy. He's a pretty big guy. And it came to pass that I spake with him, is what Nephi said. And he says that if he would hearken unto my words, as the Lord liveth and as I live, even so, that if he would hearken unto our words, we would spare his life. So he's making an oath here. And as the Lord liveth and as I live is such a sacred oath that even in those almost barbaric times, people kept their word when it was that kind of an oath. And so that's why Zoram takes comfort. It says in verse 35, and Zoram did take courage at the words which I spake, because Zoram knows that Nephi is not going to take the Lord's name in vain like that and say, even as the Lord liveth. So he trusts Nephi that he's going to keep his oath. So that's just another cool and important part about this chapter. Now I'm going to have a lot more insights to this and help you understand more about God the Father and His Son and Jesus Christ, because in here we're watching the Spirit speak to Nephi, but I'll share more about that later once you've kind of read the chapter. Really, really great chapter.